see one last question coming in from LinkedIn. Candace Bell says, I'm dark skinned, but I sometimes think people in my Black community believe I am privileged because I come from a 2-parent home with parents who are PhD educated. I would agree with you that if I were light skinned, I would probably not be treated negatively for the alleged privilege, according to your theory. Is that what you are arguing? Well, part of what I'm arguing is that with something like colorism, it's very easy to say, oh, well, you have a PhD or your parents have a PhD. But when you're entering a space, especially when it comes to education levels, when you're entering a space, people can't see your PhD, right? As someone who also has a PhD, what I've seen in terms of colorism experiences and general racism experiences is that people don't see my parents. If I'm showing up to a job interview, I'm not going to say, oh, by the way, my parents have PhDs, right? And so colorism is a lot about, well, we talk about profiling, we talk about racial profiling. Well, there's color-based profiling as well. And so if you're lighter skinned, you don't have to deal with that perception, right? A lot of light-skinned people are more likely to be believed as intelligent or perceived as intelligent regardless of their actual level of education or regardless of their actual IQ or test scores. So there have been research studies that shown in job interviews that potential employers favored or saw light-skinned candidates as more fit for the job, even if they didn't have higher education, more qualifications, or more work experience, right? They were more likely to pick the lighter skinned person. And the research study shows, at least one of them showed, that skin tone made a bigger difference in hiring decisions than education or levels of experience, right? And so thinking about colorism, especially because of the visual bias, when someone sees me, they see a dark-skinned woman with an afro. They don't see a PhD unless they already know me. If they already know who I am, then sure, they might say, oh, that's Dr. Webb. I'm going to defer to her in terms of this research or this, discussion. But when I'm going to the grocery store, if I am, walking into a meeting or a conference, if I'm presenting at an event, if I'm going to speak at an event, it's right. Most people are like, oh, that's what you look like. Or, oh, are you the speaker? Oh, you're the professor, right? And so there's a level of protection that the visual thing perception gives you versus something like your education levels. Class is similar. The only thing about class privilege is that sometimes you can signal class privilege with things like clothes or handbags or shoes or the cars you drive. So sometimes you can signal privilege, class privilege in ways that you can't really signal educational privilege always, right? And so a lot of it, when we talk about entering into a space where no one knows your name, all they're going on is what they see. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Candace. That was a great question. And thank you for sharing part of your lived experience with that.